Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Happy Friday, everybody. You know what that means? It's time for another episode of the Conquest Call-In Show, where you guys, the callers, are the stars of the show. Remember the rules. Have your question or comment ready to go. Make sure you've turned down the volume on your TV or whatever device you may be using. We'll let you guys free reign where you guys want to go with this thing. The idea is it's your show. So you bring the topics. We got a few things this week's going on. As always, we'll throw them at you. You had the decommits of the Georgia 5-stars that we had earlier week. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, we had a show 2 days ago, in which we had an emergency kind of therapy. We call it the Trojan Family Therapy Session. We're going to kind of bleed that into today's episode as well, if you want to talk about what's going on in the NIL. I know that Gabe over at Trojan Blade had a scathing video regarding the state of the House of Victory and some insider information that's going on behind the scenes, which I found pretty interesting. The rest of you guys out there, come with your topics. You know, there's a huge recruiting weekend going on right now. We can discuss that. Summer positions. You guys want to talk about any of the positions? Give us a call. The number is, as always, 888-997-4539. 888-99-RILEY. Give us a call. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll take it from there. But as always, on the screen to my right, Matt Zemek, my editor over at Trojans Wire. Matt, how are you doing today?
It's been a pretty miserable week. Let's not sugarcoat it. And hopefully there are better days ahead for all of us.
Well, we have a right on bell. Thank you guys so much for being here. We got our first caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tim, it's Adam calling from Georgia. How's it going?
Again, we've had better weeks, Adam, but how are you doing?
We've had better weeks, but I just, I'll be very brief. I just wanted to share, I guess, what is a theory of mine and get your and Matt's opinion. In my opinion, after really reflecting on this, I think that Carol Folt wants USC to become Stanford or like a Cal Berkeley. I think she wants to celebrate all of the championships that all of the sports at our school win. She wants there to be parity in the funding towards those sports. That's why you hear Jen Cohen, for example, talking about, women's beach volleyball and other sports, which I could less about. I do not think she is invested, President Folt is invested in the football program. I think if Jen Cohen is following Folt's direction, that's a problem. If Jen Cohen is acting independently, then this NIL mess that has been created is her fault. But either way, I don't like the direction that USC is going in, because I don't believe that they are prioritizing the football program. And I have to say, Tim, I really blame the Board of Trustees. They have made bad decision after bad decision, whether it was Lynn Swan, Pat Hayden, Clay Helton, and Carol Folt, and Jen Cohen. And I think USC football is in for a really difficult future, because you can talk about how great the facilities are all you want, but do you have the millions that you're going to dedicate to this program and prioritize football to make it a national championship team? I don't think that's happening. I think Folt's priorities are elsewhere, and I'd love to get your thoughts.
Okay, well, I'll dive in first. A lot of the stuff you just named on that list had nothing preceded Carol Foles and definitely Jen Cohen's run here at USC. I've heard that for a long time from fans, the fact that the university cares more about the school than the football program. Because yes, Adam, that's their job. Look, USC has a football program. A football program doesn't have a school. You know what I mean? Like, I believe you're an alumnus. I'm a proud 2-time alumnus of USC. I'm very proud of the university. It's made great strides. And if you're trying to become like a Stanford, again, on the field, I can't stand the Cardinal. But Stanford University, I think most presidents would love to be a Stanford University. Their endowment is insane. Their number, it's Stanford. So if we're going to argue, am I against a college president wanting to model their university or aspiring to be the level of a Stanford? I don't really have a lot of problem with that. I do hear your point though, as a fan. So the fan side of this thing is Stanford does not invest in its football program. That's very clear. Jim Harbaugh brought a lot of success there with his brand of football. A lot of, I say it all the time, smartest guys on the field are usually offensive linemen, and Stanford built a really good program, again, about getting a lot of really smart offensive linemen to come, and quarterbacks to come to their school. So I would say that I think it's too much of a cop out, because you could have both. I don't think that they sit back and say, hey, let's sandbag our football programs, because they're not mutually exclusive. You could have a great football program and a great university. So, Matt, I don't really know how to answer Adam's question. I would say this. Again, a lot of stuff you talked about happened before they got here. One. Two, I think that both of them have been on record. Well, I know that Jen Cohen's has the football program at the lead. You're questioning if Folt does. Folt went out and hired, because she signed off on it, $100 million Lincoln Riley. That sounds to me like she's pretty serious about winning in football. So actions speak louder than words. And for her to go out there and sign the check to pay the buyout for Lincoln Riley, which I heard was also very large, give him a huge contract, give him the coaching staff that he needs behind him. Those aren't the actions of somebody that's not serious about football. Matt, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, there are very tangible things that have been done to support football. And Tim mentioned hiring Lincoln Riley. He mentioned hiring of the defensive staff. Those are legitimate achievements and tangible forward-moving hires. Let's also keep in mind that Carol Folt hired Mike Bone, and he's the guy who helped deliver Lincoln Riley. He also hired Lindsey Gottlieb. He made some good hires. And by the way, on the chat on Wednesday, 2 days ago, saw some people saying Mike Bone was fired for no reason. Stop. He behaved inappropriately toward women. Now, not necessarily anything that would be called a crime, but you can't have that, right? And it's really unfortunate, because Mike Bone, one of the AD's central jobs is to hire really good coaches, and Mike Bone hit the ball out of the park in that regard. He hired great coaches. And you know what? It sucks that Mike Bone had to leave, but he did have to leave. So I mean, that was brutal for USC. I would also say, and Adam, this is where we can be critical of Carol Folt. You know whom she should have hired? And I talked about this at the time at Trojans Wire. We didn't talk about it on the show a whole lot, but Brandon Sosna. Brandon Sosna would have been at the top of my list for AD replacements for Mike Bone, because he was Mike Bone's right-hand man, and people will tell you that he really was the guy who did the legwork to bring Lincoln Riley. So I mean, Bone got credit for the hire, deservedly, but Sosna as Bone's assistant had a lot to do with that. And Sosna went to the Detroit Lions. Guess who had a really good NFL season last year? The Lions. They came really close to the Super Bowl. So Brandon Sosna, he knows what he's doing. And I thought Jen Cohen was a good hire. I didn't think it was a grand slam home run, but I thought it was a good hire. She was at Washington when Chris Peterson made the college football playoff, and she hired Kalen DeBoer. After the Jimmy Lake disaster, she learned from a mistake that she made. So I thought the Cohen hire was good. So I'm not going to say I didn't like the hire, but I did think that Brandon Sosna would have been a great choice at USC. And we're really missing that Bone-Sosna combination in my mind, because they were cutthroat. They knew how to go for the brass ring. And I think USC's missing that. And I think that Jen Cohen, now, Adam, you wanted me to write about Jen Cohen? I wrote about her. So I'm interested in your thoughts. But, I think that there is a sense, and I think you're onto something. I think that Carol Folt wants to win, but she wants to do it respectably, right? She wants to keep her white gloves on. This is a gloves off moment for USC. USC has to get in the mud, all right, and be willing to fight dirty. Not necessarily, casting all ethics aside, but being extremely aggressive. That's what I mean. Just slug it out, bare knuckles. Forget the Marquis of Queensberry rules, And I think there is a sense that Holt and Cohen, they want to win, but they want to do it the right way.
Oh,
And I don't think USC should do it the wrong way. I don't think USC should do it the wrong way. But you go into the gray areas and you play aggressive, and that's what USC has to do with NIL.
Matt, you can't say that anymore. Every Trojan fan on the planet will come at your throat if you even if not your words, if you just say win the right way. Every fan in Southern California and across the country is going to come at you. Don't say to win the way, because that's what got us into what we had for 6 years, was winning the right way and not fighting for what's right. So,
I'm not saying that's the way USC should do it. I'm saying that's the way it kind of feels like right now, and the gloves have to come off.
What's up, Adam?
And Matt, I'll briefly say that in a nutshell is the problem. When I say Folt wants to be like Stanford and Berkeley, I'm not talking about academics. I'm talking about how he wants to spread the money around for athletics and does not prioritize the football team. And if Cohen is acting under Folt's direction, then why did we even hire her? If she's acting independently and furthering that purpose, that is a problem. And again, I blame the Board of Trustees. We have had a litany of bad choices from Max Nikias to Lynn Swan to Clay Helton to Pat Hayden. And I would argue in some respects to Lincoln Riley, although he deserves credit and I want to give him a chance. But if you look at Folt's pedigree at Dartmouth and UNC Chapel Hill, she didn't prioritize athletics at all. When she came here, she prevented Urban Meyer from being hired and left us with Clay Helton for 2 more miserable years. And neither Cohen nor Folt were prepared to deal with NIL. I don't want to hear anymore about how great the facilities are. We need to be competitive with the Georgias, the Alabamas, the LSUs, and we're not. And why is that? Because they are not prioritizing the football program. And I am going to be the person on this program who says Carol Folt should be fired and Jen Cohen should be fired, because what you're going to see in the next few years is more of the same. If you want to go to the Big Ten, you better have the money and the wherewithal to compete in the Big Ten. And as we saw with the defection of these 2 offensive linemen, they don't. Folt is wrong for USC, and at UNC, she was asked to leave early and she was not liked. And Jen Cohen is in way over her head, and they are a continuation of mediocre hires that have caused USC football to become an afterthought rather than a championship contender, and they should both be fired.
All right. Listen, we appreciate everybody's opinion. I share, as always.
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thank you, Adam. As always, we and I will disagree. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you that you feel passionate and you back your comments up. But I just, again, it's a lot bigger than losing 2 defensive linemen. Carol Folt's job that she's done as a whole for the university, for everything. You look at the big picture, and losing a couple of defensive linemen from Georgia, by the way, that more and more I slept on this. You know, these guys, I mean, come on. They're young people. They made a spur of the moment. They came out. They saw LA. You know, who knows? They got wined and dined. They got excited. So, yeah, man, hey, look, we can go together. We can come here together, have a great time. And then as the months go by, as Kirby Smart and Georgia and Alabama start to talk to the family members, the numbers start changing a little bit, question marks, maybe even some recruiting on their part. They went to an official at Georgia. Then we start picking up, by the way, some 4-star. We have our own stud in this class. Oh my God, how am I blanking on his name? But, you know, it's weird. The decommitting came a week after where we have Gus Cordova and Matt. I'm blanking out. Who's the 4-star defensive end we just picked up? Stud, like a little right before he decommitted. These things are fluid, you guys. And I don't think we can blame the president of the university for it. I know, Matt, where you're going to go in a second here. Ultimately, I believe I know where you're going to go. Ultimately, you talked about it on Wednesday. Ultimately, the state of USC's NIL, and I think Jen Cohen, if she was we're asked to speak on it is ultimately her responsibility. This is an AD thing. This is a big picture structural thing. That's not just some periphery thing now, especially the way it's all changing. This is absolutely about the athletic department, and it should be a number one thing because really the number one competitive thing is holding USC back right now.
Well, Tim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you were trying to sell a 5-star recruit on USC, given our NIL mess, what I believe are false priorities that are other than football, what would you say to them that's going to compete with Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama? And I would say nothing. I think she should be fired. I think Cohen is in over her head and should be fired. And the recent mess with the NIL is a testament to that. But I don't want to take any more of your time because I know you have other callers. Always great talking to you guys, and I appreciate that you listen. And
Adam, I wrote about Cohen. Did you read the piece?
I read your article and it was outstanding, and I really appreciate it. I thought it was excellent. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure because you wanted it and I gave it to you.
You asked me what Jen Cohen has done that would make us competitive with Georgia. Raul, by the way, you guys, if you're not checking out this stuff, Light the Torch podcast, I don't know why you're not. You're missing out. This is what she's doing. She didn't hire Lincoln Riley, but she gave Lincoln Riley the defensive staff to be competitive with Georgia. Okay, I'm gonna put it that way. Kirby Smart is what he's done at Alabama and at Georgia. I mean, what he's done in his career. He's just that guy. And if you're a defensive lineman, that's what was so shocking. It wasn't that we beat Georgia for a recruit. We beat Georgia for a highly prized defensive linemen from the state of Georgia. And now we're throwing a fit because they didn't stick and blaming everybody. I don't know what else they can do. Are you not happy with Coach Henderson hire? Because everyone was singing Coach Henny, a couple months ago. All of a sudden, 2 Georgia kids decide to stay in the SEC, most likely, or go to Ohio State, whatever the situation is. And all of a sudden, we just forgot who we've hired. I know we need to see what they do on the field this year, but I'm still going to stand by the fact what Lincoln Riley said at the end of the season, that he was going to put everything into making an elite defense. They have done. They've shown what they're doing. I don't know why you're saying they're not doing that.
Guys, listen, I don't mean to interrupt you. The reception has again kind of gotten so that I can't understand anything you're saying. So I'll listen on the video and I'll leave it here. But again, I think they should both be fired. I think the direction of SC is going towards mediocrity, and the last 12 years are a testament to that. And I think it's wrong. But again, I can't understand you, so I'll just let.
All right, Adam. We'll catch you later. All right, so we're losing Adam. That's fine. All right, so we're gonna move on. But yeah, when you do listen to this, Adam, I guess if you could, maybe in the comment section, I'll read it. Let me know what USC is not doing, because again, hiring $100,000 coach away from Oklahoma. Going there and getting Dan Lynn, who is going to be an amazing defensive coordinator. Getting a Coach Henny, from the Rams to cover one of the most vital positions. If we're going to win national championships, it's going to be just like every great team we've had here from the McKay eras all the way up through Pete Carroll, all the way up even really into this past decade. When we've had solid defenses, it's been up front. It's been like, a big guy like a Sean Cody or Leonard Williams, or going back to the original Wild Bunch and then Wild Bunch 2 under Pete Carroll. USC, when we win national championships, I know that the Heisman Trophy winners get all the accolades, but USC's won their they won their national championships on the backs of offensive and defensive lines. And I think any one of those skilled players will tell you that if they want to be truly honest, because in front of every one of those great running backs we've had Hall of Fame, either college or NFL Hall of Fame level, or multi-year Pro Bowl, all pro offensive linemen that go and play in the NFL for decades in front of them. And every good offense has always had a really amazing defense behind them. For it's going to back in with the Ronnie Lawson, Troy Polamalu's, or you're going to be like, from the Big Cat Williams, like I talked about Sean Cody. There's always these dudes, right? And that's what USC is investing in right now, is getting these trenches right. And so I'm pretty shocked that you think that USC is not moving in the right direction. Is it happening as fast as fans want it? Heck no. We want to win, right? but they're making the changes they need to make. And I'm failing to see what USC is not doing, except for why are we not more competitive in NIL? That's what I really want to know. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Gary from Dana Point. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Gary, good to hear from you. I'm glad you texted me.
Yeah, I'm glad there's nobody.
I'm just saying, glad you texted me.
Yeah, I'm glad that nobody's very passionate about USC football. Adam is never very passionate. I'm kidding, of course. Matt likes to talk about biblical references, and there's one I have. It's called, I forget what it is, but it says that the man who's putting on his armor shouldn't be boasting like the guy that's taking it off. And right now, I think we're kind of putting on our armor. We haven't really gone to the success battlefield yet. And I'm wondering to myself, as a lot of my friends are upset with these decommitments, but what in the world is the metric that we should use to measure the USC program right now? And the obvious things that come to mind are, well, wins and losses. So we certainly got to put it on the field. But right now, verbal commitments are one thing, but the decommitments are really killing it. And it's the thing that stands out. We've been talking about a decommitment because you had to have an emergency show on Wednesday. So, and I was listening to somebody else who said something like 14 of the major recruits in California, we got one. And when you're asking a kid to go from 3,000 miles from Georgia to USC, that's a stretch for any 18-year-old. He's got parents, he's got friends, he's got a culture, he's asked to leave all that. But we got kids at Mater Dei that are 40 miles away from USC, and we're not getting them. So the decommitments really hurt. And I'm just wondering, how do we solve this problem? Kids are interested in the now. And we got to remember that, and I think everybody needs to remember, we spent 10 years in the desert after Pete Carroll left. We spent 10 years behind the 8 ball. We spent 10 years with an administration that didn't care and an AD that didn't care. And so I think we're going to have to maybe be a little patient about it. However, I still think that Lincoln Riley has the responsibility to give kids a reason to believe in USC. He has the responsibility to help these kids believe that USC is going to be a successful team. And it's up to him to do it. I don't think he's done the kind of job that he needs to do. I don't fault him because of the deficit that he's having to deal with. But I still think there's more that can be done. I agree with you. NIL is a problem. But right now, to put something positive on it, I've taken a look at the one thing that indicates that the administration and Riley is on board. Look at the coaches he's hired. Look at what he's done. And right now, if I was a betting man, I would run all the way to Las Vegas and I'd put everything I had down on the coaches that he's hired. That's where I'm putting my money. We've got 1 year to really change some things in terms of what we look like. And the metric is going to be how much do we improve? I don't expect us to go to the playoffs this year, although we could. But I do believe in these coaches and I believe in the hire. So the metric right now is the money has been put where their mouth is in terms of hiring these coaches. I know I'm a little long-winded here, but I'm trying to take two things and straddle the fence here. One is the real disappointment over these failures to get these kids committed. On the other is the disappointment between what we're not doing locally. But I balance that out with the fact that these new coaches, everybody tells me, and I believe them, are fantastic. So I'll shut up now.
No, that was a long-winded. I mean, it's long-winded is when you start going off on a tangent or you start repeating yourself. That's where you see me. Everything you just said was succinct and made sense, and I'm fully on board with. I'm going to pull it up in a second. The top 10, because we do this all the time. We talk about we have X amount of players in the top 10 from California. But we get a lot of top 10 guys from California usually are quarterbacks and receivers. So I'm going to pull it up, quarterbacks, receivers. And I'm going to look because you can only take so many quarterbacks, right? And having Julian Lewis and having the quarterbacks that we have, It's kind of hard to pull those other quarterbacks, but I'm going to take a look. I know that fans want more guys from California. So do I, because what we always heard was you lock down California and then you go across the country and pick up the pro guys. That's what Pete Carroll used to do. But it's a little bit different now. I mean, really, just like the world of economics, right? I mean, go back 70, 80, 100 years, it was very insular. You know, it was just basically you could, okay, if you're here in a United States market. But right now, you're like in a global economy. Think of recruiting now as like almost a national economy, where the fact that you can't stay just at home and expect to do well. You have to think nationally. I don't think you're in a situation anymore, especially with NIL, especially with also, you guys remember this. This is one thing about the California kids. We keep freaking out about them going up north to Oregon or going to Ohio State or going to Georgia or Alabama, etc. Think about what USC football has been for 6 years when these kids have been playing football. You know, we've been close to being a laughing stock, really. You know, it was like, oh, USC is a has-been. USC can't win games. USC can't play for a national championship. And so these kids have been had their eyes set, unlike previous years where kids growing up. Yeah, the NCAA did a big number on USC. Then USC did a big number on itself for a number of years, self-sanctioning. And then now this is what you're paying for. There's a big hole, and it's not going to change until USC starts getting guys into the NFL on a regular basis and winning on the field on a regular basis. Then the recruits will grow up being, these guys say, oh, I grew up a USC fan. The kids that say that always end up going somewhere else, Matt. So your thoughts on, well, I would like to hear what actually Gary, but I want to hear what you think about the lack of recruiting we're doing here in Southern California.
You know, not really much to add. I mean, a year ago, you were talking about, Kingston Villamuasa and how, pulling guys from St. John Bosco has been such a problem for USC. But the thing with KVA and a lot of USC's misses in the state of California a year ago was that Alex Grinch was still around. And like, that's still the big shadow that looms over USC. And, I want to touch on, I know Gary's on the phone here, but I want to touch on Adam wanting Jen Cohen to be fired. Jen Cohen came to USC in August of 2023. She could not have ordered Lincoln Riley to fire Alex Grinch before the 2023 season. There wasn't time. The timeline was just terrible with Mike Bone, being pushed out, and legitimately so. The timeline could not have been worse. If Bone had been pushed out in like January or February, then Cohen or whoever was the new AD could have said, "Hey, Lincoln, I'm taking this job, and as a consequence of taking this job, I'm asking that you sack Alex Grinch and get somebody better." But Jen Cohen didn't have a chance to do that, coming aboard just 2 weeks before the season. And let's be honest, we thought Cohen was inheriting this golden situation, right? USC was expected to be really good in 2023. And everything fell apart. You can't blame Jen Cohen for the way the 2023 season unfolded. And the way the 2023 season unfolded is why USC is in this situation, plus the NIL. And of course, the NIL is where Jen Cohen's not making the grade. But if USC wins 10 games last year, as many of us expected, myself included, would USC be in such a dire position right now? No. So you can't fire Jen Cohen for that. And the other thing is, she hasn't been on the job 12 months. Like, USC would be viewed as a laughing stock if it fired Jen Cohen right now. Like, if you're a really elite, young, up-and-coming athletic director at like a group of 5 school and you're making your way up the ladder and Jen Cohen gets sacked right now, you're not touching USC with a 39.5-foot pole, right? You can't fire people right away, because then you're not going to get cream of the crop applicants the next time around. There's going to be a chilling effect. So wanted to touch on that. Gary, I just want to say this. Gary, you have a great way of creating like a story or an image which is metaphorically appropriate. So I'm going to give you a metaphorical image. It's 110 degrees right now in Phoenix. And right before I came on this show, we had irrigation in our front yard. And I had to dig little trenches so that the water could go through these little trenches and spill into the gardens that my mom has set up. And there were leaves and pine cones getting into these trenches, blocking everything so the water didn't flow. And I had to spend extra time with my shovel and my rake creating these trenches, everything's not flowing well. That's a metaphor for USC football and USC football recruiting. So Gary, you have those lovely images. So tonight I have my image for you.
Yeah, that's a very good image. I'll say one last thing. I was going to shut up, but one last thing. It's, we have high expectations now at USC. And I'm going to tell you one pathetic thing that happened to show how bad things were. When the Penn State USC Rose Bowl game was on, I'm watching it, right? And we're losing, but I'm thinking, you know what? We're losing kind of respectively. I feel better about USC. Wow. Is that an indictment? Is that a pathetic statement on myself and the status that SC's football was in? Now we're complaining because our expectations are way beyond just beating a Penn State. That's the reason we're frustrated. If we thought we were just having a Clay Helton year, we wouldn't be expressing things with such vitriol and passion. So in any case, you guys are terrific. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm sort of a rambler tonight, but I apologize to the other viewers and listeners. Take care.
No apology necessary.
Yeah, really, honestly, you're about as succinct as we get. So appreciate always your contribution to the conversation. It's never, to me, it's never rambling. And I'm the rambler usually. You and Matt bring me back to reality. So appreciate you being here. Callers, that opens up a phone line, 888-997-4539. Do give us a call. While I have you guys for a minute here, you've been with us for now, about 36 minutes. If you're still here, it means you're enjoying the show. If you could do us a huge favor and hit that like button, it really, really, I know everyone says it, but it does really help out the program. That's why we're here. We're trying to grow the channel. And listen, subscribe while you're at it, because 2 days ago we went live. And if you weren't subscribed, there's a chance you might not have known that we're going live. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification so you know when we are going live. And one last thing, a lot of Trojans out there, or even a lot of college football fans out there, you could really help us out by bringing a friend. Let a friend know about us. Let us know about the show. If they're a Trojan fan and they want to hear about USC football, if they're a Trojan fan and they're talking your ear off, you say, hey, why don't you call on the show instead of calling me on a Tuesday after work? Have them give us a call. We're always looking for phone calls here. We appreciate everyone being here. I can't say enough that you got to hear on a Friday night, hanging out with us. You have plenty of other options to do, and you're here watching the show. Thank you so much. And if you haven't called, my last plea to you guys, if there's someone out there right now that's, should I call? Should I not call? I know all of you guys are very intelligent. You don't have casual fans on talk about college football on the middle of June. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on college football, USC. You bring the topic, we'll talk about it, okay? Thank you for being patient, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Angel, and I'm calling from LA.
Angel, nice to hear from you. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Like to listen to your show every week.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you want to talk about? I mean, there's a lot, right? It's kind of weird. Usually the off season is kind of slow, but we've had some bad news, right? Usually at this time of the year, if we're talking, it's usually really good news or really bad news.
Well, I'd like to just kind of make a few comments. Number one, with respect to the NIL, you guys had a show the other day about using corporate logos on the football field. And in turn, maybe that money can go to the NIL, because here's the reality. We can't compete with Oregon because they got Nike. And a lot of the schools in SEC, in the Big Ten, they've had NLI for years, even before it was legal. Okay, let's be honest. So SC's been kind of late to the game. So in order for us to catch up, we're going to have to be innovative. And I think that getting corporate sponsors to use on our football field, and in turn they give that money to NLI, that will make us more competitive, because what college football is now, it's Moneyball.
Yeah, we're already there. Absolutely. And so people complaining about, a corporate logo on the field would be a stain on the sanctity of college football. Come on. Hay's out of the barn. It's too late.
Yeah.
Try
and
herding cats in an open
here's the other
meadow.
thing.
Hang on, Angel. Right. Go ahead, Angel.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's be honest. So if we want to be competitive, we have to get corporate sponsorship to help us be competitive. That's number one. And number two is we also have to be realistic in that, last season really crippled us. Okay? That's being honest. Okay? So we have to be at least 10-2 this season in order to kind of get back to respectability so that the players can start looking at us like a winning program. Okay? And so the third thing is that we need to also realize that we're not always going to get all the top players. We're going to get some. We're not going to get all of them. Okay? So this expectation that we're going to get like five-star players is not realistic, given the competition that we're up against. SEC, Big Ten, teams with traditions that have been winning and playing in the college playoffs. Okay, so what we need to focus on, especially on the defensive side, is development. This is where I think the gold is. We need to really start talking about how we're going to develop the players that we bring in. And this season is going to be, I believe, a golden opportunity for USC. If we could now develop the sophomores who were freshmen last year and some of the juniors, and if they ball out this season, we can go 10-2 and we could see market improvement on the defensive side. I think that'll go a long way to helping USC's marketability and its standing among high school players that SC is back on the rise.
Just want to say, if USC can go 10-2, that means college football playoff, and that basically is a home run. So from your lips to God's ears.
Go ahead, Angel.
Yeah, and basically, I say 10-2 because, I'm being realistic. We may not beat LSU, we may not beat Michigan, but I think all the other games are winnable, and I think we can go based on the schedule that we have. I think we can do 10-2. And I think that will be enough to get us into the playoffs.
I think we just won a national championship.
I want to say this. Yeah, but finally, I want to say this. I think also is that we need to be realistic in terms of how we are developing as a program. And I mean, this is Lincoln Riley's third season. Okay, we had a good season the first time. Second season was not good. So hopefully we show improvement on the defensive side. Because all the shows that I've been watching, and I listen to all the shows as much as I possibly, Big Ten, SEC, and when every time a conversation comes up about about USC, they say, we have no defense. We have no line. And I think that's an over-exaggeration. And I think this season we can prove them wrong. And so I'm hoping that we can do that. Thank you very much for taking my call, you guys. Keep up the great work on this show. Thank you.
Great call, Angel. I will say to you, I think they had it right. USC did not, and we didn't. And we could try to defend like we did for a couple of years very weakly. We didn't. But for the national media to be so lazy and to pretend like there have not been massive upgrades, even without seeing anything on the field yet, I think track records of the people that are involved, not just the coaches, but also the players that have been brought in, and the actual poor play on the field we saw for the last 2 years that alone, for people to say that it's still the same case and that's a DNA issue. God, what is with Oklahoma fans and DNA? There's a joke there somewhere, but I really don't get how they constantly can't change the idea. I'm with them to say USC did not have a defense. They're right. We can't argue that. Look, we're in the hundreds. But to stick with it and say that USC is going to struggle this year because of last year's defense, when literally, Mason Cobb. I mean, who else who's going to represent last year's defense? Covington, who was hurt for a lot of the year. Who's here from the defense from last year? You get Eric Gentry, who was hurt a big part of the year. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to say, a parallel between last year and this year's defense. We can't start screaming from the mountaintops and crowing about how great we're going to be because we don't know how good we'll be. I know we'll be much better. And what pisses me off, and I know I've said it 2 weeks in a row, what happened to all Lincoln Wright? Lincoln Wright doesn't need a great defense. He just needs a good defense. The same talking heads have been saying that for like about 10 years. All of a sudden started saying, well, he just can't figure it out. It's the DNA, blah, blah. USC has no defense. And they know the defense that has been major changes. Sorry, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tim. It's Sean from Grand Rapids.
Sean, how you doing?
Oh, Sid. I'm doing fantastic here. It's the longest day of the year. I just saw a 10 p.m. sunset. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love being up at the lake. I got family, I think you probably heard me talk about it. And being up on the lake, and it's just glass, and there's no boats out there, and it's still, the sun's still up in Michigan, and it's beautiful weather. It may be a bit humid, but the heat's come down a little bit. You're just sitting out there with a couple of beers. It doesn't really get much better than that. I gotta be honest with you. Right. So SC football. Let's shift over.
I was just going to reiterate at that point. I was out in Saugatuck on the lake earlier today. It's heaven right now. I mean, we don't get much great weather up here, but when we do, we really relish it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
are we talking Buckeyes? Or are we talking SC Trojans? What are we gonna do?
We are talking Trojans tonight.
What's on your mind?
That's the topic of the show. Okay, so USC to me this year, they're one of the teams I kind of had the widest range of expected outcomes for in the league.
Fair, yeah.
I think they'll be good, but I don't know what to make of this team because of questions on both sides of the ball. Exactly, like I don't expect the offense to be as good as it's been the last couple seasons, and I don't expect the defense to be nearly as porous as it has been. I mean, we've seen this many times before. You make an upgrade in coaching, and it can make a terrible defense average or above average very quickly. And I'm just kind of curious about like how this transition has been going under D'Anton Lynn. I've watched a lot of UCLA film. I watched a lot of Latu's film in preparation for the draft. Watched about 8 or 9 full games from this past season, and a few from the season before. And I mean, like they run like a very different scheme than what you're used to at USC under Alex Grinch the past couple of seasons. And I'm just wondering exactly how the pieces have been fitting in, how the transfers that you've pulled in are faring in the offseason and the spring ball and all that.
Yeah, I want Matt. You want to hit that first because I'm writing down some notes. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, how are the pieces fitting together? Like we're going to have to wait and see in that LSU game. But I will say this is that one thing D'Anton Lynn and the rest of this defensive staff understand: you don't impose a scheme on your personnel. You look at your personnel, what the skill sets are, what the strengths and weaknesses are, and you coach according to what you have. You cook the meal with the groceries. you have. You don't just impose a framework. And Alex Grinch imposed a framework. Like he wanted that speed D, that finesse style, with the various points of emphasis. And he also wanted the scheme to be complicated. Guys weren't ready for complicated. They needed it to be simpler. And Grinch wasn't willing to adjust to the level of retention, reactiveness of his personnel. So it wasn't just like the scheme wasn't right. It was the coaching style. Grinch taught to a system rather than teaching to his personnel what he had available. This defensive staff, I'm so optimistic about this staff because they are very clear about we are going to coach according to the skill sets, the learning styles of our players so that they receive information and can process it easily, simply. Like that's the main thing. And I share Tim's optimism about the defense because as long as attrition is not a beast, if injuries are probably going to happen if there aren't too many of them. If USC can get through a season without a Bear Alexander injury or another injury to a really important nerve center type player, this defense should be relatively good. And if it's relatively good and Miller Moss is able to deliver the goods, should be able to at least go 9-3. So without knowing exactly how the pieces are fitting together, I think the main thing to emphasize is this staff understands you coach to your personnel instead of coaching to your system. That's really the basic building block that this defensive staff understands.
We got 12 calls online. Holy crap! I just looked up. Guys, I think we're getting closer and closer to this calling season. People are calling in. I got Sean calling from the Midwest, Buckeye fan, but knows a lot about college football. I would say this, like Matt said, you don't need. Lynn made it very clear. He is going to coach to what he has, like the ingredients for the stew is what he's going to go with. There's no Murphy twins. There's no Jay Toya in the middle, which is the big piece. I don't think that USC is kind of missing out on. Obviously there's not many Latus out there, so. We don't. But what USC does have, the talent USC has on defense, that's what I don't think people are realizing. Slowly, they have been stocking that defensive end room. I know that Sean Nua just is excited what he's going to unleash. On these the pass rush, I think for USC is going to be phenomenal. That's some issue I'm not going to be worried about. I know Matt Entz is going to have in the system have his linebackers not getting lost in the trash and getting wrapped up and not be able to get out on the edge and make plays. I know that's not going to happen again this year. That's what has me so optimistic because it was a slow. They called it a slow, but he corrected it. It's not a slow. It's a methodical install. He's installing what they need to know for this offense so they can attack and play downhill, right? So the players aren't worried about where they're lining up, what their assignment is, what gap they have. They are just attacking. They're football players making football plays. And USC has had the athletes for years. It's just they haven't been able to make those plays. Now they're going to be in a position to make the plays and then add to the scheme as the season goes on, so that when people are looking at the film, there's gonna be new wrinkles coming in every way. The idea of every great defense is to make it look more complicated than it is. And I think that what's going to happen is you're going to have these blitzes that are going to come up. I think that the quarterback's not going to know where it's coming from. And I think really quickly, people will get to know Cam Fountain. Remember that name really soon, really early in the Big Ten.
All right. Okay, so Tim finished his answer. Yeah. We have 12 calls. Calls.
Yeah.
We need to move this along. We need to do lightning round, okay?
All right, Sean.
You get your question, we give your answer. 12 calls. Burn through them.
We got you, Sean. So listen, call next week. Next Friday, we got you. Okay, appreciate you calling in. Enjoy the Midwest. Again, it's beautiful time of year. Catch you later, man.
Okay, lightning round calls.
Thanks. Love you guys.
All right,
lightning
Matt. Okay,
round.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Well, the good, I guess, are bad news because 2 angry people at us. Now we're down to 10, but we are at 7. So the calls will be coming in. While we're waiting a second here, you guys, if you haven't already, if you're still here 15 minutes into the show, that means you're enjoying what you're watching. Please make sure you hit that like button. It really means a lot to us, helps us grow the show. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button right below Matt down in the corner over there. And I don't know why the call's not coming. Interesting. There we go. Okay, it was a bit of a lag. It's weird. Caller, hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Uncle Boone from Northern California.
Uncle Bill, thank you so much for your first call, but I'm going to do this what I normally don't do. We're ripping through calls. So give us your question or your comment, and then we'll roll from there. Oh, sorry. From Northern California, you got a city for us, or are you going to keep it vague? Let's go NoCal.
Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what I want to say is that if the NIL situation is not figured out within the next year or so, I'm assuming it might be a possibility that Lincoln Riley will be looking for work elsewhere with a program that has its NIL situation figured out. That possibly could be something for USC fans to worry about. I'm not worried about this year per se, but that's just something that could possibly happen.
I totally agree. I'm sure there were a lot of promises made, and if you remember, if you guys haven't, it'd be still a good listen. If you go back to what was it called, Matt? That when you had the OU Insider, the Riley files. Go back and listen to that, because one thing he said is that Lincoln Riley was not feeling supported by the administration, not feeling supported by the boosters. That a lot of that sounds like something going on right now here at this school. And I'm sure that Mike Bone and Carol Folt pitched to him. And we remember that the introductory press conference. There's a lot of talk about vertical alignment. Is that vertical alignment in place? Is that situation still a thing? Were there promises made to Lincoln Riley? Because I guarantee you, as much as the rest of the country wants to believe that Lincoln Riley's washed up, he didn't know what he's doing, there are plenty of people that hire him in a heartbeat, Matt.
You said it.
All right. Hey, listen, Uncle Bill, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate you. Normally we have a little more time, but we're rocking and we're moving on. Appreciate your call. Hope to hear from you next week. All right. Thank you. Well, I'm not used to these quick calls, Matt, but you're right. We're never going to get all these calls unless we do this. Next call. Hi, caller. Thank you for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, my name's Will. I'm calling from Gulfport, Mississippi.
Well, thank you, Will, from Mississippi. What's on your mind tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm kind of just advanced scouting. I'm an LSU Tiger fan, but actually, I'm a USC fan because I was born in Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
So kind of, torn.
I can see Long Beach right there.
I think our teams are very similar in many, many ways. Both lost Heisman quarterbacks. Both had horrid future defenses. Got new DCs that we brought in to make our players not think so much and to play fast. Just a lot of similarities. The NIL failures, LSU's the same deal. Kelly said this year basically that he wasn't in the habit of paying for players in Baton Rouge, which is they do to an extent, but not for the important guys we need, like D linemen and corners, which we're really in trouble with. But yeah, just a lot of similarities. I think they're two elite head coaches. Also, just a lot of similarities all across the board, and I can't wait for that first game.
I'll tell you what. Thank you, number one. What a great call. I'm like you. This is a great game. Looking forward to it. You might enjoy if you go back on our channel and take a look. We had a really great interview on 2 Mondays ago where we talked about all the similarities that you're discussing right now, as well as on Trojans Wire. We have an article up there talking about those similarities. But yeah, it's uncanny. All the parallels that Coach Kelly and Coach Riley have been going through the last couple of years, and they're trying to get past them. We'll see if Blake Baker can be that guy. We're hoping Danton Lynn's going to be that change for us. But a great call. Appreciate you calling in. We're here every Friday at 7 p.m. So
absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate your call, Will.
Glad I found you guys, man.
Right.
You got it, buddy. Bye.
Bye. Great call. Listen, I love those calls, especially with the class that gentleman had. I wish all future opponents had that kind of class when they call into the show. There's a lot of you out there. We're waiting to hear from you guys. Sound off. I know there's a lot of Big Ten fans out there. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. So please feel free to call in. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is the Bull, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. All right. What's going on? What's on your mind about USC football tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there. I call all the time to the Michigan college show all the time. And I'm a big Michigan fan, and I can see some similarities between us when it comes to, like you said, vertical alignment and stuff. Our athletic director has previously said, or Manuel said, we are transformational, not transactional. When it comes to stuff, and we all know that's crap. So surprisingly, this recruiting cycle, we've been hearing good things when it comes to, I have a GM, we have all this alignment, we have, some deals, all this stuff is in line. And I can see where you guys are just trying to get there, right? Like you're trying to get things lined up, I don't know if you guys have a GM or not, but just because we're also a public university as well. So there's that, people run that as well. So just a lot of similarities between us two, I feel like, in that sense. And where Michigan has had to, in a sense, as of Ohio State, had to develop lower star kids or whatnot. I think that's one thing that you guys definitely are going to have to do going forward. I feel like, obviously, that takes time. Sadly, about 2 to 3 years to really show some results.
Yeah, I think you guys. The one thing
you can get there.
I think the one thing we're looking to do is kind of what you like. The team you have right now did not happen overnight. I mean, Jim Harbaugh built that program into what it is right now. I know Sharon Moore's taken over for you guys, but you didn't do it through massive NIL budgets. You didn't do it with top 1 or 2 recruiting classes. Like, when you won your national championship last year, you did it the old fashioned way by building and development. And that's what I think the similarity is for what I'm hearing from our coaching staff is they're bringing in the talent, and they also have the coaches in order to develop that talent. And I think the problem we're having here at USC is a lot of fans want an instant fix, not realizing or not remembering the state of the program when Lincoln Riley came in. That having a quarterback like Caleb Williams obviously was able to mitigate and hide a lot of the issues that were on this team by scoring lots of points and a lot of shootouts. There are a lot of games in that 11-win season they had that they probably should have lost, but Caleb was the difference in those games, and he just put the whole team on his back or one leg and tried to will the team to win. That's not the case, but I don't think we're going to have. I think our offensive line is building. I think we are going to be a lot more solid. I think we now do have the defensive pieces in place. So really exciting. Matt, did you want anything to add to that? We're good. All right, man. Hey, listen, we'll appreciate your call again. You'll be in Michigan. So every 10 o'clock, every Friday, appreciate you being here. Make sure you give us a call back. We have a little more time. All right.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay. Sounds good. No problem. Appreciate you guys.
All right. All right. Let's see. Guys, if you're out there, make sure you hit that like button. Appreciate everybody being here. We got 4 more calls to go, Matt. We've had a couple people drop. Caller, thank you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, guys. It's Dave from Iowa.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
All right. First off, thanks for this therapy session, guys. Really appreciate it, but I'll get right into it. So, Tim, you asked me last week if House of Victory has the NIL money. After the 2 decommits, do you think we have the money to compete, or do you think the high school kids from Georgia used us to get better NIL offers from the other schools and, in a sense, take advantage of, in quotes, the mecca of college football?
I think that the more and more I'm learning and hearing from a number of sources about what the NIL situation is, we could probably do a whole show on this. The difference between having a for-profit and a nonprofit, having the kids, for instance, if you are a nonprofit, you can't just hand out $150,000 for a tweet. I don't want to go to the mechanics of it. Short story is, I think we do have the money. I think we do have the donors that are willing to come to the table. From what I'm hearing is the structure of the House of Victory. This is what I'm hearing. I don't have firsthand knowledge of this. the structure of our NIL, our main NIL that the university is backing, has some things that make it more non-competitive than some other collectives. I'm going to leave it at that because for two reasons. One, I don't have first-hand knowledge, and I don't know the exact details. So
Gotcha.
yes,
All right.
yes,
Thanks.
money's
Thanks for
there,
the
but how
info.
it's managed might be an issue right now. There, that's bear with me to say it.
Gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Have a good one. Fight on.
Fight on, Dave. Thanks for calling in. Hope to catch you next week.
Yep.
Okay. Well, are you proud of me, Matt? We're moving through calls.
Yes, we
This
are.
is something. This is something I've been very bad at for a long time. Let's see what we got here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, Tim. It's Erica, the Iowa fan from Illinois.
Erica, I don't know this voice. How you doing? This Erica's from our national channel.
Good. How are
She's
you?
Good. Really good. We're just jamming through calls right now because we are up past our 8 o'clock and we've got calls. What do we have right now? Okay, good. We're down to 4. Just really quickly.
Yeah, you guys are very popular.
We're just lucky to have a lot of really excited college football fans. It hasn't always been like this, Erica. Believe me, there have been a lot of Matt and Tim conversations during the last couple of months. But I'm glad we're all back. I'm glad you guys are all enjoying the show. Again, please, if you can, take a second to make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button. But Erica, what's on your mind tonight?
All right. So just to complete, disclosure, I guess for those who might not know me, I'm an Iowa fan. I know that Iowa is not necessarily a blue blood like USC, but I'm just calling because I wanted to give a bit of perspective since Iowa is in a similar situation, but on the other side of the ball. And Tim, you'll know that we've talked on Twitter before, and I think on Mark's show too, about if we took USC's offense and Iowa's defense, we'd have a natty, Big Ten natty. So with Iowa, we're on the opposite side of the ball. We have the problem. We're just horrible. We have been since Brian Ferentz pretty much has been OC, which is way, way too long. And luckily we got rid of him because we got a good AD in. But I guess what I'm calling to preach is that I think some patience is needed. And I understand it can be frustrating to lose a 5-star recruit because believe me, as an Iowa fan, we don't get a lot of them. And we lost one just recently that everybody heard about on a national level. And the reasons for that are various, and I'm not, here to talk about that. But one thing that really was interesting to me was to read in the chat that someone said that development was dead. And this is kind of related to the Michigan caller that you just had, or the Michigan fan who just called in like 2 calls ago or something like that. But, Iowa does get a lot of players drafted to the NFL, even though we're not a blue blood. And the reason for that is development. Like our defensive guys, for example, who are mainly the ones who get drafted besides the tight ends.
Tight ends, yeah.
Right. We do get some 4-stars. We've been getting more and more 4-stars, since I guess we're gaining the reputation of having a good defense. But we've only really had one 5-star who stands out, and that's AJ Epinesa, who's on the Buffalo Bills right now. The others have been either 4-stars, which that's, a portion of them, a percentage of them, but the vast majority of them have been 3-stars and 2-stars. And the same is true for our tight ends. I don't think we've really ever gotten a 5-star tight end, actually, which is shocking. But, this is time for the coaches to prove their worth that you guys just hired, as far as I see it. Because, if you don't get 5-stars, they're going to have to develop the heck out of the guys. And if your new defensive coaching staff succeeds in doing that, they're going to deserve major kudos. So I guess what I'm saying is, as hard as it is to be patient, I think we should give them a chance, see what they can do on the field. And believe me, I know it's difficult. Okay. I'm an Iowa fan who's had horrific, embarrassing, abysmal offenses for the last multiple years. And anyone who's listened to the national show will know that I have been complaining about it for over 3 years.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird that I'm preaching patience, but we just hired a new OC as well. And I'm waiting to see what he does. So I guess my point is don't despair, when you see what happens.
No, I think most SC fans saw what Dan Lynn did last year. And if Lynn could do just let's face it, he had a top 10 defense. If he could just do a semblance of that, right? So, and what Matt said about he's going to mold it to the roster, it's not like USC doesn't have athletes. Everyone's so fixated on the fact they didn't get depth in the middle line. Heck, I was one of them. But, Phil Parker is a perfect example of a guy who's a great defensive coordinator, preaches great sound defense, doesn't have the top name guys, but like you said, has a coaching staff that develops these guys, get it ready for the pros. It's a model that USC fans should think about. And I hope that you are as excited about your new OC as we are about Lynn. Matt, you want to add to that? Oh, you might be
Nothing
muted,
to
Matt.
add. Nothing to
Okay.
add.
All right, sorry
Oh.
to move you along this fast. Maybe we're gonna have to start pacing ourselves. Go a little bit. I looked up and we had a bunch of calls. That was my bad. I should have paced them out a little better during the show. But Erica, thank you so much for calling. I hope you will forgive us and call back next weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call, and hopefully I provided maybe a bit of perspective.
Well, listen, as we get closer to the season, I know we don't play Iowa, but we want to hear your Big Ten perspective. So I appreciate your call. Appreciate you calling back. All right, I see you, Erica.
Yep, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Matt, go Hawks. Okay. Yeah, we got our calls rolling in now. That's for sure.
And no more calls. But
Yeah,
stay on the line. Those who are on, stay on.
I turned off the calls, so we have the ones in the queue. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hi, caller. You're on. What's your name and where are you calling from? Caller, I can hear TV, but I can't hear you. You there? Going once. All right. We'll catch you next time. All right. We'll wait for the next call to queue up, but you guys be ready. I think we probably put him to sleep. He was waiting so long. I'm so sorry, you guys. We do have someone's been waiting. Oh, geez. Been waiting 17 minutes. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm on the show. Oh, thank God. Oh, my God. It's Keith from Irvine. Matt, Tim, what's good?
Hey, your energy, Keith. That's what's good. How's it going, man?
Hey, man, you know what? Well, it's you guys that make me so excited. I was actually at the USC Lincoln Riley football camp 2 days ago. Got to talk to some of our coaches. This is the same day that we had the 2 5-stars decommit. Let me tell you something. I talked to Coach Hinney, okay? Every time I see the man, make sure to give him a big hug, okay? I talked to Coach Nua, okay? And this is real deal stuff. They're not worried about it, all right? We're not worried about it over here at FP, okay? We're going to go at least win 10 games this year. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Macho Man Randy Savage right now. So, all right? We're not worried about these 5-stars because we'll pluck up some 4-stars or some higher-end 3-stars, and Coach Hinney will coach them up. And I'll take the answer off the air. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not like there's right. Oh, by the way, man, I got to get that soundbite, the woof woof dog work from you. Yeah, it's not like there's nobody besides those two. It's not like there's only 2 defensive linemen. They both from Georgia and they both decommitted. We'll get to it in a minute because we get to these calls. But there was a really big, I mean big, both in size and in star power. Basically, the number 1 defensive lineman just happened for the 226 class. Just happened to be in town, and he's a huge friend of Julian Lewis, who's the quarterback that's committed to USC. That's a whole other story. But then, like we talked about, the USC losing defensive linemen is one thing, but remember they're filling in these guys. It's not like there's the name I forgot was Hayden Lowe. Hayden Lowe is an amazing 4-star defensive end that's actually committed to USC just before these guys decided to decommit. And it's not like we're not going to get our defensive linemen. To say that losing them isn't a big loss, I'm not saying that, but it's not the end of the world, and they're not the only 2 linemen in the country. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello.
I'm not sure. Hello?
Yeah, we got
Hello?
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mark calling. This is Mark calling from Albuquerque again.
Hey, Mark. Nice to hear from you again.
Yeah, how's it going, man? Hey, just real quick. I know we're short on time. Just a little rant and stuff.
Sure.
I just kind of want, just kind of remind people of the name Ricky Town. I want to remind people of the name Damian Mamba. I want to remind people of the kid that was a 5-star running back that ended up transferring to San Diego State. We get caught up in all these things. Now, let's be realistic. Had we beat Utah last year and maybe one more game, who would be the defensive coordinator again this year?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
it would definitely be. It would still be Alex Grinch.
Yeah,
it would still be Alex Grinch.
I think he would have found a way to lose the Louisville game. So no, maybe not.
Yeah, I agree. But especially when it's obvious you don't even watch film and you got a third string backup DB running wheel routes on you, and you claim you never saw that. So I'm glad that he proved himself. But the point I'm trying to get at is that, like outside of, I hate to lose these names. But damn, we don't know if that's going to be Reggie White playing, Isaiah Terry turns into Reggie White. We don't know if Isaiah Gibson turns into Lawrence Taylor. Let's just go with what we got and develop. I think we're on the right plan. I think sometimes, it's nice, and I always talk about this. We always talk about this fandom. Hell, I like Sean Utani. I like Mookie Betts. Hell, I like Freddie Freeman. But you know what? Let us develop and see what we have. What we have. Hell, a good scheme, a good being coached and developed, that might make a big difference. Hell, Mason Murphy, Jay Tua, that was scheme. It had to, they didn't just come out there. Jay Tua was at USC. He didn't just become the Jay Tua of a day one draft pick next year just because he was Jay Tua. That was part scheme, and that was part development, and of course work ethic and stuff like that. Let us see what happens. It's nice to be always the pessimistic and, USC's not getting this, USC's not getting that. We weren't going to get that half the time anyway. Or why aren't we getting all these California kids? Well, when you got somebody flashing Nike signs and Nike gear and whatever.
And Nike dollars, yeah.
Thousands and thousands of dollars. Exactly. These kids don't have allegiance. It's not like, okay, I grew up where maybe you or me grew up and like, okay, I want to go to Notre Dame. I want to go to USC. I want to go to Oklahoma, these blue blood teams and play. It's a whole different landscape. And let's not lose sight of that. Now, I'm all for you guys hammering down NIL and finding out what exactly is going on. But, Carol Folk, her job is to run the university.
Yeah.
Yes, we would want her to be more football friendly if she is not. Or Jen Cohen to be more football friendly. But damn, they hired a great staff.
Mm-hmm.
Let us see what's going on the field. And I would like us to discuss that and get prepared for the LSU. What do we need to do to get prepared for LSU? What do we need to do to get our defense together? Whereas you have a all-conference linebacker who's coming in. We had a linebacker who was all-conference the year before who act like he never even played football because of Alex Grinch. We have some people in place. Let us put those puzzles and pieces in place, and then we go from there. And then maybe we'll get the Isaiah Gibsons or something like that, which I don't know if they're going to pan out. Like I said,
you never know. Listen, if it was a normal night, I'll let you go. I mean, I'll let you go on. Your rant is on point. We're going all over the place, but you're making a lot of solid points. I think you're talking about Dylan Baxter. I think was the running back, the big flash that we thought we were going to get to end up going down at the SDSU, became an Aztec. You don't know which one of these guys are going to peak in high school. Who was someone today was talking about that? Anyway, it's true. Some of these guys peak in high school. Some of you guys peak in college. So, God, I wish I knew who said this today. It's going to kill me later on. And some guys, that's the story, right? They're going to be the next great thing. And then all of a sudden they get to campus and they get around college players and they get it on against the defense and they just never really pan out. I wish I could tell you also Mason Cobb. Mason Cobb is the linebacker I believe you're talking about, who went from basically an all-conference player at the Cowboys, Oklahoma State, and then just seemed like he could never get on page here. I know he's gonna have a special season. Yeah, again, I'm really excited about what Matt Anson's gonna do with those linebackers. What are we gonna do in order to slow down LSU? We got to believe, if we're going to sit here and talk about, what Danton Lynn did last year and what we think he can do and how much we believe in his system, we got to know he's going to dial up something. But like Matt and I heard from LSU, they are going to come with a hell of a great offensive line. Now, the good thing is that I don't know what kind of a running back situation they're going to have. Matt, maybe you could fill in a little more on that, but I think I think it's going to come down to it's going to be they're going to have to run the ball. I mean, I'm going to keep saying this till I'm proven wrong. I think our secondary guys, we keep focusing on defensive line. I know it's all kind of works together, but I think that our defensive line can play man out on the outside, which is going to allow us to bring a lot of guys up to the line and hopefully help out whatever the situation is on defensive line. Matt,
Right.
I just want to.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say we did a show with Matt Moscona of ESPN Radio Baton Rouge 2 weeks ago, a Monday show. You want to check that out here at the USC channel at the Voice of College Football. Went in depth on that LSU game, so be sure to catch that if you haven't.
All right, Mark. And listen, Mark, we got to go. Appreciate you. It's been a little while, but appreciate you calling us back. Like always, great points, and I hope to hear from you next weekend. Okay, call back in next week, 7:00 Pacific.
Yeah, for sure, man. And fight on. I appreciate what you guys are doing, man. Hey, let's just keep this direction moving forward towards LSU.
That's right.
We'll be ready come September.
You got to believe until you can't believe, right, Mark? All right. Take care. Fight on. All right. Got 2 more callers, Matt, and we're done. All right. We got 2 more in the can. Sorry, by the way, to the 7 callers that I missed because I'm bad at my job and didn't roll fast enough through them. I apologize to you. I promise, please call next week. I think we'll go a little quicker with the calls next week and roll from there. After this call, we'll take, actually, caller, can you hang on 1 second? We got to hit these super chats really fast. They've been sitting for a while. First one here is Gary. Thank you so
you're good, man. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. Gary, thank you so much for the could you turn down your TV really quick in the background? Caller?
Yeah, man.
I'll bring you back up in a second. Gary, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. And as always, starting off the show with a great call. Appreciate you so much, man. And your support from day one has been a lot to the program. We also have Will and D. Thank you so much for 4 months here as a member. I was talking to Will. Will's a Notre Dame fan. He's talking about there's a young man at the Elite 11 camp, Knight, his quarterback. I forgot his first name. Big dude, throws off platform. You can be if you got hold that kid from Mississippi, Will, you're gonna be a very happy guy. And I'm kind of worried. He was the guy that, by the way, during the whole day, I saw that Juju and Knight were pretty close. So it'd be interesting. I took a picture to actually put up on Twitter. Be interesting. These 2 guys, if the next 3 years they're competing against each other in that great rivalry game. Another one. Thank you for a $3 super chat or $2 super chat. Thank you so much. 300 GJW. Perhaps the admin is good with 8 and 4. Seems that way. I don't know why people think that these people are incompetent. They are not. They're very good. All of them are very good at what they've proven. They're very good at what they do. And no administration at USC would ever be happy with 8 and 4. I don't know why you think it seems that way. And Slap Happy, you were late, but you made up for it. Thank you so much for a $5 super chat. Rough week for SC nationally, and the kids are seeing this BS. Yeah, I don't know. My worry, Matt, I think I told you right away. I know I told Gabe right away. My worry is the perception. I don't know if these kids were ever going to stick, but now there's going to be a narrative. The problem with a lot of things happening is really this is nothing new. People decommit all the time. Out of state kids decommit all the time, especially kids that on seems like a spur of the moment on unofficial visit decide that they're going to commit together and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden now there's something wrong with USC's recruiting. I get it. This is something that makes you kind of go and there is some stuff seeping out about the NIL. Hopefully we get some more clarification on that going forward next couple of months. But overall, a lot of this, I think people might with these 2 be overstepping a little bit on what was the cause. Was it just NIL, or is the fact that we're trying to take 2 kids from Georgia out of Georgia that most likely we're going to stay home, do some home cooking, and go to play football in the SEC? We'll see. We'll see where they end up going. And that covers it. I think, yeah. Caller, hi. Thank you for being patient. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, sorry. I got to turn you back up.
My name's Dylan from Alabama.
Hey, Dylan. Thanks for calling.
I'll be honest, man. I'm an Auburn fan, so the main reason I'm keeping up is for Juju.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of wanting to touch in on y'all's NIL situation a little bit, and I think y'all need to do more in-state recruiting for one. It's just California's a plethora of talent out there.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to NIL, how much do you think taxes is coming into play into this? So as for like here in Alabama, our state tax is like 4%, and our income tax, and y'all's is like, I guess for somebody making over $100,000, over 10.
Well, okay, well, so
that's going to have to play a big role.
I'm not sure it's a big role. Just you got to pay them more. The bottom line is the kid doesn't care how much he's paying in taxes.
Well,
he wants to see what his net is, right? But really quickly, hold on, let me really quickly. The reason why Juju, I believe, sticks with USC is simply because, one, he saw what Caleb Williams was able to do. Caleb he got money from the collective, but he made a absolute killing legitimately, right, with his name, image, and likeness. I mean, we all know it's kind of a game now with NIL. But if you have the personality, if you have the ability to be that kind of a spokesperson like Caleb, like I think like a Julian Lewis can do as well, you're going to be able to make a hell of a lot of money here in California. And from what I remember reading originally, that the Lewis family was really, really close to the Williams family, and they had conversations. And one of the biggest conversations is they're not that this NIL money we're talking about here, Dylan, is nothing compared to that. Not the first, the first contract, plus imagine that second NFL contract. And there is a kingmaker, and his name is Lincoln Riley. We can't disagree with that, can we?
Oh, no, zero, man. When it comes to putting quarterbacks in the NFL, winning Heisman, throwing big numbers up on boards, man, he's the king when it comes to that. There's no argument there whatsoever. And I'm not going to pretend like Auburn could even shake a stick at anything like that. That being said, I do think we have a shot at him. I'm not thinking that we'll get him. I do think he'll probably stick with USC, maybe Georgia, if anything, but that doesn't seem likely. But I still feel as if that tax, the state tax is going to play a major role in a lot of the NIL I mean, y'all do have a boatload of money out there in Hollywood, but how focused compared to, say, an Alabama or an Auburn or a Georgia, how focused is the city and the state, like the residents-wise?
Right.
How focused are they on college football?
Correct.
Because that's all our state has is college football. Like, we have nothing else.
Well,
I mean, everybody's money, including the state's money, like, we're about to make these kids state employees.
Yeah.
So they're going to get pensions and shit.
Yeah, no,
it's about to get wild, man.
I hear you that the populations are different, not only in size but also in what the interests are. And there's a lot of money in Hollywood, but not much of it's earmarked for football. So all that Hollywood money stays in Hollywood. But I do hear you. Listen, we got to move on.
Exactly.
Listen, thank you so much. I encourage you, please call back. Let's follow this thing through. It's going to be interesting. Juju should be shutting down this thing he keeps talking about by the month. I'll give you one little, since you called in, a little caveat.
In July.
So during the Elite 11, there was a guy sitting next to TC, who was his dad. The dude had a Colorado hat on, and I just kept looking over it once in a while, because I was going to go over and introduce myself. Never got a chance. You know why? Because Colorado dude was just sitting with him the entire time. I don't know. Read into that wherever you want. I think he's going to stick to USC. It's a Hugh Freeze. You guys.
I have a feeling he will too.
You're going to make a big run at it, but in the end, I think. I don't think he's also a guy that's going to be landlocked to playing in the South. Quarterbacks are a little, they run a little bit different than the other players. So appreciate your call. Feel free to call us back next week, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern for you. All right, man.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Dylan.
All right.
All right, Matt, I know you're looking at me. I said I would go fast, and I'm not going fast. I know. I have problems. What can I say? I have problems going through, because you know why? I always saw these calls and the callers was kind of dismissed, And I told myself I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to give these guys, they call in, they get a little bit of time. So sorry, Matt. Matt's going to kill me. He's going to get me back for sure. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ted Fletcher. They call me Fletch. I'm calling from Rochester, New York.
From New York. All right. What's on your mind, Fletch?
Yeah, that's my nickname. You know, like the movie Fletch
I
Lives.
gotcha. 6'5", 6'8" with the afro. Yeah, I got you. Go. What do you got for me?
I'm coming from like a different angle here. I'm looking at two games that I've seen USC play. One was in 1970 against Notre Dame, which had the best defense in the country. And we were behind that game in the first half, 24-6. It looked like we were dead. Nothing was happening. And we came out in the second half, and Anthony Davis just blew them away, and we didn't give up a point. We won 55-24. And another game that I'm pointing to is the game in 2022 against UCLA, which was a fantastic game where Caleb, passed for 500 yards. We won 48-45. And I give the UCLA quarterback credit because he hurt himself, but he didn't take himself out of the game. What I'm saying is if USC can have that kind of attitude, no matter what the score is, no matter what players you put out there, to have that grit and that attitude where, hey, you step on the field with me, your ass is grass. That is what I'm looking for in that team.
Yeah, you bring up two great games, and Matt, are we allowed to spill the beans on this one? So we're gonna have a special guest. Are we allowed to? Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the worst. So we're gonna have the famous AD on our show in a couple of weeks. Mark Rogers is filling that out for us, but someone in his camp reached out to Mark, and we are going to have the honor of having the Will, plug your ears, the Irish killer, AD, come on in and talk about the. He scored like 5,000 touchdowns or 6,000 touchdowns against Notre Dame. So
unbelievable. Like we talk about best performances from USC, and we all know, the juice and everything, and Reggie Bush, but Anthony Davis, boy, could that guy run.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk to Mark. I mean, I probably won't do it during the show, but I'd like to hear, Archie Griffin. I don't know if the Heisman voting had been back in the day. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think the Heisman voting was earlier before the Notre Dame game. And if they had waited to cast their vote until that Notre Dame game, which is a game that has helped a lot of Trojans win the Heisman Trophy, if they had held that vote until after that game, we may have seen a different winner, and we would not have a two-time winner in Archie Griffin. Am I getting that all right, Matt? I think that I am.
Yeah, very well said, brother. Very well said. I totally agree with you. Yeah, it is. But this is, I'm watching the show now, the Collins show. A lot of people are judging. They're talking about schedules. But, being an athlete, you got to have that desire to win when you go out on that field. You could have the best coaches in the world, the best players, but if it's not in their inside to come out with a victory, you're not going to come out where you want to. You got to have that winning attitude inside you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this team, that the players on this team have the coaching staff that, Coach Henny won a Super Bowl. Lincoln Riley has been to multiple playoffs. You have Matt Entz, who's won multiple national championships at the FCS level. You're talking about a coaching staff that knows about winning at the highest level. I think that's also very important in college football, having guys that have been there, right? And just from the small interactions I've heard these men talk, I have no doubt that they will have this team ready. And I do think everyone is expecting that our defense isn't going to work. I know that. I mean, literally they're praying for it because, like, I'll say it again. The national media has told us forever, if they figure out the defense, look out for USC. USC having a competent defense is their biggest nightmare because they know they will not be able to stop the scoring. And yes, Matt, we will score 21 in Ann Arbor. All right, listen. Hey, Fletch.
Oh yes, I definitely agree. If we can get somebody that can give Bear, a little help, in the middle there, I think we'll be fine.
Kobe Pepe, man.
Because our defensive backfield is unbelievable. We got, oh man,
we're stacked.
Excellent defensive backs.
I agree. I agree. Our secondary is going to be lights out. I think our linebackers, they stay healthy, lights out. We'll see what Coach Henderson knew. I know the guys on the outside with Nua, and it seems like they're confident. It seems like there's a confidence that, for whatever reason, they were not very aggressive in NIL, and I think they could have been more aggressive. And the only thing I can possibly think of, because I know these people are not stupid. Obviously, if I'm thinking about, they thought about probably back in September, is that they have the pieces they need to make this happen, and we will see. Right? We can talk all we want. I think we'll know at halftime of the LSU game, and we'll know at the end of the Michigan game how much depth we have at the defensive tackle position, because that's going to be your true litmus test. All right, hey, listen, Fletch, we got to move on. Appreciate you calling in. Give us a call next week. Call us 10 o'clock Eastern next week.
Okay, thank you very much. You have a blessed weekend.
You too. Stay safe. Fight on. All right, last call, Matt. We're down to the last call of the night. You guys, thank you all so much for being here. One more solicitation, you guys, if you haven't already. If you're here at the end of the show, first off, thank you for being with us the entire time. Leave me in the message. Let me know if you guys have been here for the entire hour plus. If you've been here wire to wire, love to hear from you guys. Let us know. Caller, hang on 1 second. We'll get right to you. But we appreciate y'all being here. If you can hit that like button, and like I said, we went live 2 days ago, and if you subscribe and hit that notification bell, you would have known we had an emergency family therapy. Hopefully we don't have those. Hopefully we have some celebrations coming forward. Last call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Dan out of LA. This is Dan, the Trojan 49er.
Hey, is
Pete
Carroll going? Is Pete Carroll?
Hufunga.
Hang on, man. Is Pete Carroll going to be your next coach? Is there truth to that? Matt, is that true? Someone told me today.
Huh?
Pete Carroll? I don't know. It's just some weird stuff I heard today. I'm like, I don't know. Someone's probably messing with me. I got a text message from a random person. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, this is Dan, the Trojan 49er, home of Talanoa Hufanga, now Jared Kingston and Drake Jackson. Just want to put it out there that, USC, no one wants to talk about Alabama and Georgia, all the guys who flame out in the NFL. They have all these 5 stars, but, USC puts out Pro Bowlers, All Pros, and Hall of Famers. When they get to the league, they actually do stuff. They don't just sit on the bench. But anyways, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Kyle Shanahan
I just
retiring.
wanted to say that.
Bad. Go ahead. Sorry, man. Go ahead. Slade, it's been a long call. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I'm not hurt from all the 5 stars leaving and things like that, because I know these days people need to just relax, because verbal commitments don't mean anything anymore, and until they actually sign in December. So I mean, if USC is going to swing with the big boys, they're going to take some big losses. But as long as in the long run they win more of these good guys and they lose, and then. Pete Carroll, I know it was a long time ago, he won with a lot of 4 stars. All we need to do is develop the talent. And to me, again, at the end of the day, USC just need to win games. They need to put the proof on the field, win some games, and then eventually these recruits will probably give them the benefit of the doubt and hang around. But they have no proof of concept yet, and they need that, to show the defense is ready. And once that happens, then you'll see that the recruits start coming. And I honestly think hopefully Lincoln Riley and these guys start to kind of lock down the West. And because, we were losing, all these guys, Oregon getting, and even Utah, some of these guys from around the West and even Hawaii, these guys develop and become really good players. And, imagine all the guys on Utah's offensive line, the defensive line that USC could have gotten if it wasn't for, the Clay Helton era back then. But, USC needs to lock down the West. Not what I mean by West, it doesn't just mean California.
Right.
Find those guys again in Arizona, Utah, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, like we used to do, and then go cherry pick these guys from the South and the East Coast. And now we're in the Big Ten, we can cherry pick the guys out of the Midwest because they're going to see us. So, all is not lost. It's just 2 guys, whatever. Look who won the national championship, Michigan.
Right.
And who they play against? Washington. There wasn't an SEC team in there. Yeah, there was no defensive powers in that game except for Michigan. Washington made it. They didn't have all these 5 stars on defense.
No,
So,
they
I mean, it's
did not.
just get the guys you need for your system and develop them.
Now,
So everyone's always talking about, oh, you need this defense. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, I want to break in. Matt's going to fall asleep unless we let him talk. I'm like, go ahead, Matt.
But Washington had an elite offensive line. That was a key component.
And they had next level wide receivers and an NFL quarterback. That was a solid offense defensively, but that just shows you that if you have trench play, you're gonna be competitive, right? That was, if you give USC that offensive line last year, I'm wondering, can we outscore a number of teams that we played? My answer to that's probably an absolute resounding yes. We don't get embarrassed in South Bend, that's for sure. So I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. What was your name again? Dan? Yeah, Dan. Excellent points.
Yeah.
We're a little bit late in the night, so I hate to cut you off, but usually we give you guys free reign to talk. We've just had, for some reason, I think we're getting closer to the football season. We had a number of great calls, including yours. I don't want to cut you short. One last quick thing you want to share with us before we get out of here?
No, the season just can't start soon enough. Go ahead and knock out LSU, and they go. I mean, that's all you need to do. Just win games. Just win.
Just win games, Dan.
People shut up. All the media, the East Coast media, just win games. What are they going to say? If you're winning, the media back east and down south can't say anything. They just win games.
That's the comment of the night. Even those Pete Carroll teams were called soft. I remember the Oklahoma guys going to that Orange Bowl game were calling the California guys soft. They haven't seen smoke like this. They can't deal with us. And in the fourth quarter, Sean Cody tells a story about those guys were begging USC to run the clock out. Just run the ball, run that thing out. So it just shows. So you're right. Just all this posturing before the season, we're going to know. Did Lincoln Riley fulfill his promise to make this defense? I think he did. I think he's done everything he can to make this elite defense. I don't think there's very few people, even Adam knows that the investment that this team has put into trying to make that defense side of the ball better. The question is will they have the pieces to do it this year? I know it's going to come, but will they have that depth? The question mark is going to be in each individual game. And as we get into late October into November, will the injuries pile up and will we start to see some issues? Because if the injury hits us with the lack of depth on that defensive line, that's where losing the guys we lost is going to be, losing an Isaiah Rakes is going, Lafitte, those are the guys that those two pieces hurt, losing them on top of the fact we were looking for somebody. That's when we're going to find out this defense. Other than that, I am very confident in this defense. Dan, great phone call. Please call back next week. We can go to a little more detail.
The very last thing I'll just quickly say is that Lincoln Riley just needs to grow up and run the ball. Run the ball, save the defense for later in the year, and just run that ball. If they can't stop the run, just keep running down the throat. Forget passing and trying to get all these yards. Run the ball, give the defense a break, and save those legs and save those injuries.
And Dan, I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. I think Lincoln Riley would have been more than happy to run the ball all game. I think it's an absolute myth that he just wants to throw the ball. I think he wants a balanced offense, and I think he would. But I think being the great play caller he is, he's going to take what the defense gives him. And so the defense is gonna take away the run, then they're going to throw. And vice versa. I think this year we got a lot of size on our offensive line, Dan. A lot. Bringing the Hayden Treater coming in. He's out on campus now. Along with those, we're not going to have a small line. In the years past, we've had a marginally small line. It's going to be very big in the interior with Monheim moving to center. You got Prangley, he's a huge guy, left tackle. And then whoever we have at right tackle is going to be big. And I think we will be running the ball effectively up the middle. All right, Dan, we got to get out of here, but appreciate you calling in. Fight on, man. And again, I hope to hear from you next week.
Fight on.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. We went a little over time here. Appreciate everybody calling in. There were 7 of you guys I didn't get to. My bad. Every week I say I'm going to get better at this, but I do believe, Matt, I did a pretty good job of moving through the calls tonight. I hope you guys felt you guys got your time to get your word in. We love all of you guys being here. Thank you so much. We had a lot of calls. Wow. We had thank you, Adam, for starting off the show. Gary from Dana Point, Angel from Los Angeles, Sean from Grand Rapids. We had Uncle Bill from Bay Area, Will from Mississippi, the Bull from Detroit. We had Dave from Iowa. Erica from Iowa, Keith from Irvine, Mark from Albuquerque, Dylan from, I think, Alabama. Yeah. And then we had Fletch from somewhere in New York. And then we finished off there with Dan. All you guys are the stars of the show. We appreciate you guys. Those of you guys that sat on the sidelines tonight, make sure you guys get into the game next week. Call us. We don't bite. I mean, we love each and every one of you for being here. Fight on. If you do me one last favor as you're going out the door, if you have not already, hit that like button. Please hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Matt, any final words for us?
Nope.
I feel like I've been talking for the last 30 minutes. My voice is almost completely gone. Thank you guys very, very much. Again, look for that interview with Anthony Davis, Trojan great running back, should have been a Heisman Trophy winner, coming up in the near future. Also, I'm trying to get J.K. McKay back onto the show as well. So look for him coming up soon. Appreciate you all being here. Remember, it's always a great day to be a Trojan. Don't let these two commits get us down. There's a huge recruiting weekend going on right now that I didn't even get to. We'll talk about that on Monday. Hopefully, we got some news. We got another emoji. So technically, there's one accounted for. And then the other three are kind of, up in the air, still out there. We don't know who they are, but there's three guys. I guarantee you the quality of recruits have been coming on these official visits. Whoever those three recruits are, you guys should be very happy. But that's it for this show. Thanks again for calling in. We'll see everybody on Monday. Remember, Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific with Mark, Matt, and myself for Trojan Conquest Live. Love all you guys for being here. Thank you for your support. And as always, fight on.